is Sonia Dosti, and I'm the Public Information Officer with the County of Fresno, and we are here with our CAO Paul Nerland. First question I want to ask you, actually, before we go into the Q&A that you have for employees, why are you called the CAO? Why is it not the CEO? This is a burning question that I've had for a very long time.
First, thank you, Sonia. It's good to be here. And my kids ask me that question all the time. What do you do as the County Administrative Officer? And how is it different? And all I can tell you is I'm going to go meet this week with other administrators in other counties. And some are called CEO and some are called CAO. So I don't know that I have a good answer for you other than historically at the county, that's been the title here. And otherwise, the fact that we do the county budget. But beyond that, the role is similar to a CEO.
Well, I hope you don't mind, because occasionally I mistakenly call you the CEO, because that's what I know. I guess we'll have to remind ourselves that you are technically the CAO, County Administrative Officer. But I appreciate you wanting to do this Q&A for employees. Obviously, in our previous videos, you had said that you were willing to answer some questions for employees, and we did get a few questions. So with that, let's go into some of these really important ones that we have before us. How do you address the issue of salaries and people working in the county, and that they really want to stay, but sometimes they're concerned that they cannot?
That was a great question, and for the one who asked it, thank you for asking. You're not the only person that we've heard that from. And the first thing I would say is I'm glad that we were able to address giving salary increases this year as part of our budget, but I also recognize the inflation rate is in double digits. And so we haven't seen a time like this, and we're seeing recruitment and retention issues that are still remaining in county departments. So we are looking closely at that. What I can tell you is this, for the positions that we haven't been able to fill or those that we're losing positions, Human Resources is taking a close look with our department heads in trying to see what can we do related to salary to fix that. Because we want to keep our employees here and have them paid fairly and preferably at the top compared to other counties in the valley. The board has made that a priority, and we're doing everything we can. One of the challenges of moving too fast in that regard is we're doing this at the same time as our revenues are projected to go down. The state is already billions under what they projected in this year's budget, so we have to be very cautious the way that we do it so that whatever we do, we're sustainable. I was here during the last economic downturn, and I want to make sure this time whatever we do is sustainable. But our goal is that we have employees that are paid top in the valley when it comes to other counties, and that it's competitive and employees are making a good wage here at the county.
Thank you for answering that. That's a difficult one. So another question that came in, and this is actually a question I was not familiar with because I'm newer to the county. I've been here about 18 months. The person asked, will the county open up the one-time banked time hours again in the near future?
That was something that happened a number of years ago, is there was an opportunity for employees who have annual leave accrual, and once they've reached the cap, currently the cap is 600 hours, so if you're there, you can accrue no more annual leave hours. There was an opportunity to move up to 40 hours to what they call the time off bank. The time off bank had no cash value, but it allowed employees who were near the top to accrue more. The time off bank, although it didn't have cash value, it has retirement service credit value. And so it's something that we've looked at in the past. One of the challenges with it is it does have retirement service credit value, and that value is not funded. And so if you retire, and let's just say you've got 6 months of leave in that, and that helps you in your retirement, there's no county or employee funding that goes towards that, which is essentially an unfunded amount that goes to our retirement system. So our board took a close look at that, and knowing that that may be a concern, it doesn't mean we may not be able to look at it again in the future, but for now, for that reason, it's not something we're moving forward with.
Another question that came up was health insurance. Why is Fresno County, why is our insurance higher than some of the other counties and the state? And what are the things that can be done about it in the future?
So I have to tell everyone watching, that is probably one of the top questions I receive as CAO, and I know in Human Resources they receive this question a lot too. And I have to acknowledge the cost of health insurance has been high. And you mentioned the last economic downturn. Well, during that time, the county's contribution to health insurance was frozen for 7 years. And so we've been playing catch up since then. And so let me tell you a few things that are happening related to that. One, let's talk about the cost increases. So we've made some progress, and I'm thankful for that. So this year, CalPERS went up about 7%. The health plan for federal employees next year, 8.3%. So by comparison, the county's increase was about 3%, which is very good for the time we're in. So I'm thankful for a year that it was not very much of an increase for this year. But here's what the board has done that I'm very happy about that's a start going the right direction. So employees will receive an additional $520 per year contributed to their plans for employee only. If you're an employee who has family, which is our highest cost plans, we know that's where we're the furthest behind, next year, another $2,860 per year is being contributed towards your health insurance plan. That's a big amount, and that's the same thing actually that happened this year. So that's money in your paycheck as a county employee. So we're making progress. That does not mean we're done, but we're glad to see that at least it's going the right direction. Something else that you may not know that the Board of Supervisors did that is contributing towards lowering the rates or mitigating the cost going forward. Health insurance plans are going up because COVID costs was a big impact to health insurance plans the last 2 years. So the Board of Supervisors took the one-time American Recovery Act plans that we have, and they took those, and it's $2.4 million that they've dedicated to go towards the San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority, which is where the county's self-funded insurance plans through Anthem Blue Cross are funded. What that means, that's a direct benefit to our employees. That'll mitigate the cost going forward. So that's just another action that was taken. And there's more to be done. We're still looking at options to further that, but it's a step in the right direction.
So another topic that's come up that's actually kind of related to health insurance in some ways is someone brought up the issue of obesity in our valley, which is actually a nationwide problem. And the person wanted to know, how can the county inspire all of us to be on a better track with regard to our health, mental well-being? What are the examples that we can sort of put out there for all of us so that we can lead healthier lives, so that we don't have to go to the doctor as often and use up our health insurance?
For those who don't know, for about 10 years, I worked as the employee benefits manager here at the county, so I got to look at this issue very closely. But during that time, I could say I learned from some mistakes that we made. Wellness is something that we all believe in, but how much information do you get every day relating to wellness?
A ton. If you count social media, if you count, all the different emails you get, or emails even from the county, it's a lot.
We all get information, and they're all important issues, but how many do we really stop and read? Every one of them usually says, Sonia, here's something you should do, or Paul, here's something you should do that would improve your health. And so the first thing I think we need to realize is even the health insurance rates we were just talking about are directly related to the wellness of our employees. And so if we really want to impact our health insurance rates going forward, we need to do something together to change our behavior. And so Fresno County, not just as a region, but as an employer, has very high obesity rates. And if you look at our claims, diabetes is near the top. In fact, in the state, it's one of the highest areas. And so we have a lot of work to do in that area. How do we do that? It's behavior change. And so one area we need to look at is when you get an email from the county or Anthem Blue Cross or Kaiser that says, hey, you need to do this. Let's be honest, a lot of us are just, that's great, and we throw it in the trash or think about it or make a New Year's resolution and it's over by the next day. We did a study a few years ago, and the most effective thing that in communicating waste for wellness was actually not a campaign from the employer. It was something that involved employees. And so what we really need to do is get employees involved. And in that study, it was, at that time, we were doing blood work to make sure people knew their numbers. During that process, we had some employees that learned they had very serious illnesses. And had we not done that, they wouldn't have known that they had cancer or they had other very difficult diseases that, if they hadn't acted, could have affected their life. And so what did we do? We used those employees as part of a campaign to get on a video and tell others about their experience, that had they not done this, it would have affected their life. And at that point, the cost of health insurance is the lowest thing we're thinking about. It's about their betterment and their wellness. So to do that, we need our employees. And I want to give credit. There is a health benefits advisory committee. It's representatives from every labor group in the county. So if you're watching this and you have a union or a labor union that works with you, you likely have a representative to that group who can give suggestions of things we can do, but frankly, we need to use our employees more to do that and bring it on site. The other part is we have to create a culture of wellness, and I realize that just talking about it doesn't do anything. If we as leaders aren't changing things and the way we do things, then it really isn't going to affect change. And so that's something we need to work on. The other thing we've looked at is how do we bring access to health care that employees need closer? Some employers have done an on-site health clinic. That is something that we're looking at. It takes a lot of work to have that set up, but we are taking a close look at whether that would be feasible here at Fresno County.
Those are good, I think, good ideas, because I know if people would actually do their yearly, their annual exams, that oftentimes will help them find out what's going on with their health. And that's why I think it's important. We are part of the solution, is we have to be proactive about those types of choices and getting our blood work done, getting our cholesterol checked, those types of things. Some people have asked the question, how do we deal with the parking and the fact that, especially for those of us who do work downtown, we have to pay, the fee for the parking, but then there's also the issue of safety. Some people feel that it's not that safe to park downtown. I think there are especially women who are concerned about some interesting elements that happen at night if you're here after hours. So how do we address those issues?
There's really two pieces to your question. One is parking availability. We don't have enough parking available right now for county employees, which means sometimes they're having to walk as we come into the wintertime when it's getting darker. That's when the safety issues come up, and we need to make sure first, if there's a safety concern, I want to make sure all employees know our county security has made clear, especially when it gets darker, if you want an escort when you're leaving, they will come and escort you to your car. If you have any issues, please don't let it go unheeded. That is a service that they have made known is available, and we can put the phone number on this video to make sure you know who to call if that's ever needed, especially in the evening or when things are getting darker. The other thing we hear about is the cost, which we completely understand. And now that we have other employees of the county in other areas where they're not paying for parking, that's become a bigger issue. And all I want employees who are listening to this to know is we hear you. It is an issue. As a matter of fact, we've got meetings as soon as today talking about solutions to that issue. So although I can't share yet what they are, we are actively working on solutions that we think will help in that regard. So stay tuned, and I wish I had an immediate answer, but it is something that it's been a long time issue, but it's becoming a bigger issue as we have employees in different areas.
Here's, I think, our final question, which is how can we ensure that the lofty goals that you and the board have expressed, how can that be adopted and really given ownership in other departments?
I really appreciated that question, because we can talk about all these great lofty goals, but if it's not happening where our employees are sitting and working, then it doesn't matter. Years ago, I used to run a training unit here at the county, and we did a new employee training program that was excellent. Got great ratings, employees loved it. But I do recall several occasions where employees left the training excited as a brand new county employee, and they just couldn't wait to get to work. And then within a month, we would hear from them, and they would say to the trainers, whatever you were talking about regarding the county, that's not what I'm experiencing in my part of the world. So it's very real to me in that way. So here's a couple of things that we're going to be doing in that regard. I've mentioned in a prior video an employee engagement survey. And although we haven't released it yet, we're doing some foundational work so that we make sure that our department heads and that we as an organization are ready for that to act. And so when we do an employee engagement survey, it's not just about the county-wide focus, it's also about what's happening in departments so that we can work and look at trends and fix those issues. That's not going to get every issue, but it's certainly going to raise some of them to the top. The other thing is our leadership. We need to make sure that we've got a leadership that is focused on sharing this vision, and that means we need to support our leadership. We have some fantastic leaders here at the county, and I'm thankful that they're here to work with me as we lead this large organization, but we have to work together to make sure that we're doing the same things and supporting our employees. And so I really appreciate that question. Why is the employee engagement survey a big part of that? Because you don't just do it once. So the goal is we launch a survey, but then we do another survey later, and that first survey is just a baseline. And the goal is we make progress on the things that our employees bring to our attention. So what I'd like our employees who are listening to this to hear is that brings accountability to the CAO and to our leadership team that we actually act on what our employees are telling us are their major concerns. So that is our goal, and I very much appreciate that question, but that puts the pressure back on us now to do something about those concerns.
Well, I think that's the end of our questions. I appreciate you being willing to do this, and I hope that we're able to give our staff another opportunity in the future to maybe submit some more questions at the email address that we have at the bottom of this video, and hopefully we can do another one in the future.
Absolutely. If you're watching this, I encourage you to submit more questions. This is just the beginning. I want to be able to do that and answer them directly. So thank you, Sonia. Appreciate it and appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.